The day my stepson walked into my room while I was changing turned out to be one of the most unexpected moments of my life. It was such a strange and unforgettable afternoon. So let me take you back to where it began. I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the collar of my shirt, my mind far away. The house was quiet, almost too quiet. My wife, Marissa, was away again on another business trip, leaving me alone with the silence that seemed to stretch through every room. This had become routine, short visits from her followed by long absences. I told myself it was because of her dedication to her work, but the truth was, it often left me feeling invisible in my own home. Marissa's son, Samuel, had recently moved back in after finishing college. He was polite, respectful, and genuinely helpful around the house. At 21, he carried himself with a quiet confidence that brought some life back into the place. Over time, though, I began noticing small things. Quick glances, an extra second in a smile, the casual brush of his hand against mine in the hallway. I told myself it was nothing. He was my stepson. I was married. It didn't mean anything. That afternoon, sunlight filtered through the blinds, casting warm streaks across the room. I decided to change into something more comfortable after finishing chores. I slipped off my shirt and caught my own reflection in the full-length mirror. My undershirt clung to me, and for a brief moment, I wondered if I still looked the same as I once had. It had been years since Marissa had really looked at me, her mind always on work calls, friends, or projects. I reached for the robe draped over the chair near the bed, but as I pulled my undershirt over my head, the sudden creak of the door made me jump. My heart skipped, and I instinctively grabbed the robe, turning around quickly. Standing in the doorway was Samuel. His eyes widened, his face shifting from surprise to uncertainty. "Oh, I'm so sorry," he said quickly, stepping back. "I thought you were downstairs." The silence that followed was thick. My pulse hammered in my ears. It's fine," I managed, cheeks warm. "I didn't hear you come in." He hesitated, glancing between my face and the robe clutched in my hands. "I didn't mean to interrupt," he said quietly. "I'll go." But before I could think, I blurted, "Wait." He paused, turning back. "Yeah." His voice was almost a whisper. I hesitated. Maybe it was the loneliness pressing in, or the fact that his presence filled the room with a kind of warmth I hadn't felt in a long time. "It's okay," I said finally. "You don't have to leave." I was just startled. He stepped back inside slowly. "I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable." "You didn't," I replied, my voice steadier now. "I just wasn't expecting anyone." We both stayed quiet for a moment, the air between us charged in a way I couldn't quite explain. His gaze lingered on me, and despite my embarrassment, I didn't look away. "You're sure you're okay?" he asked, concern in his voice. "Yes," I said quickly, forcing a small laugh. "It's not a big deal." But it felt like one, the way the moment seemed to hold its own weight. "I should probably go," he said again, though he still didn't move toward the door. "You don't have to," I said without thinking. "It's nice having company." His expression softened, a faint smile touching his lips. "Okay," he said, leaning against the doorway. I nodded, loosening my grip on the robe. "I'm sure." We stood there in silence, the air between us thick with things neither of us was saying. My chest felt tight as his eyes met mine again, steady and searching. "Daniel," he said gently, breaking the quiet, "you've been different lately. Are you okay?" The question caught me off guard. "I'm fine," I said after a pause, though it didn't sound convincing. "Just tired." "You don't have to pretend," he said softly but firmly. "I can tell something's been bothering you." His sincerity made it hard to keep my guard up. I swallowed. "It's nothing. Just life." He took a small step closer. "You don't have to go through it alone. I'm here." Something in his voice made my throat tighten. "Thank you," I whispered. "Anytime," he said simply, his hand brushing the doorframe like he wasn't ready to leave. There was still that quiet, unspoken energy between us. Not dangerous, but different. Comforting, even. "Samuel," I said softly, my voice low. He turned, his expression unreadable. Yes. You don't have to go, I said. If you want to stay and talk, that's fine. He studied me for a moment, his eyes steady, as though he was trying to understand exactly what I meant. Slowly, he stepped further into the room, letting the door click shut behind him. The sound sent a shiver through me, though I wasn't sure if it was from unease or something else entirely. Are you sure? He asked quietly, his voice cautious. I don't want to make you uncomfortable. I'm not uncomfortable, I said quickly, though my flushed cheeks betrayed me. My pulse was racing, my hands trembling just enough to notice. My thoughts tangled between confusion and a strange, aching warmth. But I didn't want him to leave, not yet. He hesitated, then crossed the room with slow, deliberate steps, stopping a few feet away. His eyes flicked to the robe clutched tightly around me before returning to my face. You seem different lately, he said softly. I let out a faint, nervous laugh, my fingers fidgeting with the fabric. Life does that to you sometimes, I replied. It's nothing serious, just loneliness, I guess. His brows drew together, a flicker of concern passing over his face. Loneliness. I nodded faintly. Marissa's always busy, always somewhere else. My own voice surprised me with its sharpness, and I quickly looked away. Sorry, that wasn't fair. You don't have to apologize, he said firmly, though his tone stayed gentle. You deserve to feel seen, Daniel. You deserve to feel important. Something in his words caught me off guard, tightening my chest. I looked up and met his gaze, steady, unguarded, and full of something I hadn't felt in years. I don't even remember what that feels like, I admitted, my voice low. You're important, he said softly, taking another small step closer. I see you, and I don't think you realize how much you matter. My breath caught, the sincerity in his voice, the way his eyes didn't waver. It was overwhelming. The walls I'd built for years felt suddenly fragile. Thank you, I said, my voice trembling. You don't know how much that means. He reached out, his hand brushing lightly against mine. The contact was brief, but it sent a ripple through me. Daniel, he said carefully, I don't want to overstep, but I care about you. A lot. The room seemed smaller somehow, the air thicker with everything neither of us was saying. My heart pounded in my chest as I tried to process his words. I don't know what to say, I whispered. This is complicated, he said with a faint, almost sad smile. I know, but that doesn't make it any less real. He took another step, his hand resting gently on my shoulder. You don't have to feel alone, he said quietly. Not with me. I swallowed hard, my throat dry. Samuel, I began, but the words tangled. His fingers brushed my cheek, tilting my face toward him. The touch was gentle, almost as if he expected me to pull away. But I didn't. Instead, I found myself leaning into it, my heart racing. Tell me to stop, he murmured. If you want me to, just say the word. I opened my mouth, but nothing came. The air between us felt like a tide pulling us closer, and I didn't resist. His voice was low, almost breaking. I just want you to know how much you mean to me. That's all. His words hit me harder than I expected, and I felt my eyes sting. When was the last time someone had spoken to me like that? When was the last time I'd felt seen? I don't know what I'm doing, I admitted, my voice trembling. I don't know how to feel about any of this. You don't have to know, he said, brushing a strand of hair from my forehead. We can figure it out together, one step at a time. The sincerity in his tone, the openness in his expression. It was too much. My defenses gave way completely. Slowly, I let my forehead rest against his, my eyes falling shut. I'm scared, I whispered. Me too, he admitted, his breath warm. But I don't want fear to stop us from this. This? I echoed, not sure what it would become. Only that I couldn't ignore the pull between us. In that quiet moment, the rest of the world felt far away. All that mattered was the way he made me feel. Seen, understood, and not alone. I don't even know how to explain it, I confessed, my voice trembling with emotion. You don't have to, he replied gently, his hands resting against the sides of my face. His gaze locked with mine, steady and unshakable. I feel it too. Time seemed to pause. The outside world faded away, leaving only the quiet connection between us. Every word, every shared breath felt like a revelation, a reminder of what it meant to truly be seen by someone. I don't want to lose this, I said softly, almost afraid to let the words out. I don't want to lose you. You won't, he promised, his voice firm yet warm. I'm not going anywhere. His words soothed a deep ache in me, a loneliness I'd carried for far too long. I let the comfort of his presence fill the spaces in my heart that I'd thought would always remain empty. You're shaking, he murmured, his thumb brushing gently along my jawline. I nodded, unable to find the right words. I wasn't sure if it was nerves, hope, or something else entirely. Maybe it was both. It's okay, he said softly, his tone so kind it made my chest ache. We can take our time. I'm not going anywhere. Something about the sincerity in his voice steadied me. I let myself lean into his touch, choosing, for the first time in years, to trust someone completely. I've spent so much time feeling invisible, I admitted, my voice barely more than a whisper, like I was just existing. But with you, I feel seen. You are seen, he replied firmly, and you deserve so much more than just existing. The truth in his words hit me harder than I expected, and I felt my eyes sting. A single tear slipped free before I could stop it. Samuel reached up and gently brushed it away, his expression soft. I don't know how to do this, I confessed, but I don't want to stop. We don't have to figure everything out right now, he said, leaning his forehead to mine. Let's just be here, together. The weight of my thoughts began to ease. His voice anchored me in the present, a place I hadn't felt safe in for a long time. You're important to me, he said quietly, more than you realize. His words left me momentarily speechless. I wanted to tell him how much that meant, how it chipped away at the walls I'd built around myself. But no words seemed enough. I'm scared, I admitted again. Then we'll be scared together, he replied without hesitation. I'll take care of you, Daniel. I promise. For a long while, we stayed close, the air around us heavy with unspoken truths. His presence calmed me in a way nothing else had. You matter, he said at last, his voice firm and certain. More than you know. And for the first time in years, I believed it. I'm not going anywhere, Daniel. Not unless you want me to. His words sent a wave of relief through me, and I felt my eyes sting with tears once again. I leaned in slightly, not to speak, but simply to be closer, letting the moment carry the feelings I couldn't express. He reached up, gently resting his hand against the side of my head, a steady touch that made my heart ache. His gaze didn't waver, and there was no rush in it, only quiet certainty. When we finally eased back, he rested his forehead against mine, his breath warm in the space between us. We'll take it one day at a time, he said, his voice calm and sure. We'll figure it out. I nodded, a flicker of hope stirring within me for the first time in what felt like forever. I didn't feel alone. I didn't feel invisible. I felt seen, wanted, cared for, and I knew I wasn't ready to let go of that. The minutes slipped by, and the room slowly darkened, the sunlight through the curtains fading into the soft glow of twilight. The stillness wrapped around us like a blanket, but the truth of our situation pressed against the edges of my thoughts. We couldn't stay here like this forever. Eventually, we'd have to face the consequences. I should go, Samuel said at last, his voice reluctant. I tensed, my chest tightening. You don't have to, I said quickly, my voice tinged with desperation. He hesitated, searching my face. I don't want to, he admitted. But I don't want to make this harder for you either. I reached for his hand, lacing my fingers through his. Just stay a little longer, I whispered. His expression softened, and he settled back down beside me, pulling me gently into his arms. My head rested over his heartbeat, and the steady rhythm eased my racing thoughts. For now, I just wanted to hold on to this moment. The hours passed in a blur of quiet conversation and thoughtful silences. We spoke about everything and nothing, our words broken up by pauses that felt just as meaningful. His presence soothed something deep in me, a fracture I'd carried for years. I clung to him like a lifeline, but as the night deepened, reality crept in. We couldn't hide this forever. Sooner or later, Sarah would see the changes. In me, in him, and I didn't know how I'd explain it without tearing our lives apart. "I don't know how to do this," I confessed, my voice trembling. "You don't have to figure it out alone," Samuel said, gently brushing his hand through my hair. "I'm here, no matter what." The reassurance warmed me even though it didn't erase the weight of my choices. I wanted to believe we could make this work. I wanted to believe we could find a way to be together without losing ourselves. "Promise me something," I said, meeting his eyes. "Anything. Promise me you won't regret this. Promise you won't hate me for what we've done." He cupped my face, his gaze unwavering. "I could never hate you," he said firmly, "and I don't regret a single moment." Tears filled my eyes. I let myself believe him just for now. I wanted to hold on to hope that this could somehow last. The night stretched on, and as we lay there in each other's arms, I felt a peace I hadn't known in years. For the first time, I allowed myself to imagine a future, one with happiness and maybe even love. The morning after, the weight of reality pressed in like an anchor. Samuel had left before dawn, his departure marked by a lingering glance and a promise that we'd figure it out. I stood at the window, watching his car disappear, feeling truly alone for the first time. The house still carried his presence, faint but undeniable. When Sarah returned later, unaware of the storm inside me, I struggled to act normal. Her words and movements felt like they belonged in someone else's life. Over the days that followed, the memories stayed vivid. Moments with Samuel burned brightly against the monotony of my life. But so did the doubts and fears. How could we possibly keep this hidden? And if we did, what kind of life would that be? We managed to steal a few moments here and there. Brief conversations, shared glances, small reassurances. But they were fleeting. The uncertainty was a constant shadow. One evening, as I sat in the living room, Samuel appeared in the doorway. Without a word, he crossed the room and sat beside me. "We need to talk," he said quietly. I nodded, bracing myself. "I don't regret what happened," he began. "But we can't keep going like this. It's not fair to you or to Sarah." His words landed heavy in my chest. "I don't know how to stop," I admitted. "We have to try," he said gently. "Because if we don't, it will destroy us." I knew he was right, though I wanted to believe there was another way. Slowly, painfully, we began to create distance between us. The stolen moments grew fewer. The connection we had felt dimmed, like a flame running out of air. Sarah, still unaware, went on unchanged. But I couldn't look at her without feeling the weight of my betrayal. Samuel threw himself into his job search, filling his days with interviews and calls. The distance hurt, but maybe it made things easier. Still, I missed him, the way he made me feel alive, seen, understood. Letting go felt like losing a part of myself. One night, lying in bed, I realized that no matter how much time passed, a part of me would always carry him with me. What we had wasn't meant to last, but it had changed me. As I stared into the darkness, I made a quiet promise to myself, to take what I'd learned, to move forward, to search for the happiness I'd been longing for. It wouldn't be easy, but I owed it to myself, and to him. So here I am, still not certain what to make of it all. Was it wrong? I don't know, but I'd like to hear what you think. Let me know in the comments.